We are on a holy mission. We have come to these divine lands to cleanse it of weeaboos and degenerates. We will cast their kind to the pits. We will block their poorly conceived spam. We will drive our blades forward until they yield. We will capture every objective, A, B, and C. This is our birthright, and retribution is our inheritance. Deus Vult. I like to mumble that and similar ramblings while I'm playing this game. If you haven't heard, For Honor recently held an alpha test the other weekend. It's a few weekends ago now, because I'm behind on this video. But that's beside the point. I want to talk about For Honor because it's something more unique than what I'm experienced to in the action genre. For Honor is this kind of melee combat PvP experience, which we have seen before. We've seen it in Chivalry, we've seen it in Dark Souls, we've seen it in quite a few games at this point. But For Honor kind of takes it to this next level. It's a natural response to these games. These developers, they saw a market and they seized it and they went in hard. I've never seen so many mechanics and different movesets worked into a multiplayer melee combat game like this. I've seen way more mechanics in single player games. It's not Devil May Cry or anything, but for a multiplayer game, I've never seen it like this. Let me explain this game to you, because when I showed this game to friends, they didn't really understand what was happening until they played the game themselves. It's something you really have to feel, but I'm going to try explaining it to you anyways. The basics are easy. On the surface, it just seems like this rock, paper, scissors system, right? But it's more than that. So there's a stance system. You go left, right, or high, either using your analog stick or your mouse. And when you're in this stance, you block attacks coming in from the same stance, but if you attack and your opponent has a different stance, you get a clean hit. So they always have one guarded area and two open areas, and the basic idea of the game is to hit them in those open areas. You can use light attacks. Those are quick, they don't do much damage, but they often lead into other options, which we'll get to. You can do heavy attacks, which do a lot of damage, do a lot of recoil even if they're blocked, and they tend to give you a massive positioning advantage. However, if you miss, they leave you wide open for a punish. They're risky, and they're easy to see coming. They're very telegraphed. You can also do a guard break, which is kind of this little short-range melee tackle. What a guard break does is it knocks somebody off balance and they can't block for about half a second. You're not going to get a free heavy attack, but some characters get free light attacks. But the thing is, some characters have variations of the tackle. The Warden can tackle in between hits, so he can chain like hit, tackle, hit, tackle, and you keep them on block. They have to keep blocking, and from there you can mix that into a throw. Because if you tackle somebody and hit tackle again, you throw them. And you can use this to throw them off bridges. You can use it to throw them off cliffs. The environment is so important in this game, and you really don't want to lose the positioning advantage, but I'll explain that later. Other types of guard breaks include the Viking charge, which is... oh, I don't even want to start in the Viking charge right now. I really hate it, but it's pretty cool. If the Viking catches you guarding, if he catches you at a bad position, he can charge at you with his shoulder, and if he brings you to a wall, he gets a free stun, and then he can do massive damage after that. He forces a huge guessing game, and it's such a good tool. But we're diverting from the point. Anyways, guard breaks are these tricky tools that you can use to break your opponent's guard. It doesn't matter what stance they're in. So you always have this when someone's playing too defensively or they're out guessing you, and that forms the basic rock, paper, scissors dynamic on the surface. Underneath that surface, you have all these different class abilities coming together and forming what becomes the For Honor metagame, or at least the very basic meta that we played in the alpha for the 3 days we were able to play, because 3-day alphas are stupid. Remember to spread that message. Some of us got jobs. Can we get 7 days on one of these? Thank you. Anyways, you have 3 factions in For Honor, with 4 classes within each faction. In the alpha, we had 2 classes per faction for a total of 6 characters. The first faction, the Knights, Crusaders, the Deus Vult Brotherhood. The 2 characters for that faction were the Warden and the Conqueror. The Warden is your well-balanced kind of starter character. He has good offense, good defense, jack of all trades, but he also has a few tricks, like with his shoulder charge between light attacks, and his high stance, which is better than the other character's high stance. It's faster and has more range, so be careful around that dude when he has high stance. The Conqueror is this defensive powerhouse, this walking tank, and oh man, I love the Conqueror. Playing as the Conqueror gives you this feeling of invincibility, just walking towards a guy, staring him in the eyes and deflecting all of his hits. You watch as he starts to scramble, he knows he isn't fast enough. He starts to slip up, he starts to make mistakes, then you grab him by the throat, you toss him off the bridge, get out of here. So the Conqueror has this shield, right? And when the Conqueror blocks a hit, it does a lot more stun against his opponent than it does to him. So he's really good at punishing. Not only that, he has this stance, the defensive stance. Instead of holding left, right, or up, you hold down. And he blocks all directions, even in team fights if like 3 people are coming at him. So if he wants to, he can say, screw y'all, I'm blocking, and one of you will have to go for a guard break. But watch out, because he can charge heavy attacks while he's blocking, meaning if he sees you move as much as an inch, he can instantly go for a high damage punish. It's going to do like 40% of your health, and it's going to slap you right across the head. Don't try it. The second faction that I want to talk about is the Samurai, the Nippon, the Weeaboo Alliance. First up is the Kinsei, which is your standard mustache mask samurai guy. Just look at him, look at that mask. He has a long katana and a traditional stance, and he has great range and great speed. The samurai is the kind of character where you can just kind of sit back and poke at people if they're doing stupid stuff. You don't really have to deal with anybody's bullshit when you're the Kinsei. However, the Kinsei is also a tricky character, because he has this kind of chain system built into his light attacks, where his third action is always an unblockable if he does a heavy attack, so he can do these unblockable setups on you. Not only that, he can dash into guard break. He has like this really long range guard break where he just totally infiltrates your defense from mid-range. So the Kinsei is this kind of character who has these great defense tools, but also kind of tricky offense tools. It makes him a hard character to be around in a 1v1. You get nervous. Watch out for that guy, Kinsei. You can't trust him. The other class was the Orochi, who you should trust even less. The Orochi is the dexterity character, the speedy character, the ooh I countered you, free hit character. So Orochi doesn't really do traditional blocking. What she does is when an attack's coming at you, you kind of just flick your stance in that direction, and you'll just kind of slide their attack off your katana. It looks really cool. And after that, you can go for like a free quick hit, or you can go for an unblockable if you think they're stupid and they won't do anything. Which happened to me too. I won't lie. We all have those days. The Orochi has the fastest movement speed and the fastest attack speed. Not only that, the Orochi can chain dashes in and out of the light attacks, which makes her pressure ridiculous, let me tell you. The Orochi in a 1v1 environment is so annoying to fight, but also so fun to play as, because you feel in control when you're this character. You're the main character of a kung fu movie, you're untouchable and you're super fast. Just to add on to that, the Orochi can even do this backdash charge heavy attack stance, where you kind of jump back 2 yards or so, and kind of hold your katana like you're an anime character, and you're like, come at me. And if they do come at you, you can run forward about 3 paces and do a horizontal slash. If they guess your stance, they are going to block it, and it's a pretty telegraphed attack, but it's a great punish tool when somebody's charging up a heavy attack, and you know you have time to step back and come in. The third faction is the Vikings. I didn't play the Vikings much because, honestly, I hate them. Viking players are degenerates. You should all feel bad about yourselves. But for the sake of footage, I did play a few Viking matches, and I wanted to be able to comment on their movesets. I do like the dynamic that they add to the game. I just hate anybody who picks them, because I know where you stand in this world. So the first Viking is the Raider, and he's like this fucking 6'8" dude. No, not 6'8", he's like 7'20", and he carries around this giant great axe. Like, this thing is taller than some of the characters, I swear. And he swings it in these huge arcs that are pretty tough to dodge, but they're pretty telegraphed, so you see him coming. But his tricks lie elsewhere, so he can do this overhead thing, right? Where it can either be an overhead slash that'll completely end your life, or he can cancel it into this little love tap with the bottom of the axe, so he just taps you in the face with the hilt. And what this does is stuns you, it throws you off balance. Ooh, it's so dirty. And we already talked about his mid-range charge. Ooh, I hate it, but it's cool. I like how it influences the game, what can I say? And there have definitely been a few sick moments where guys just charged me, led me straight off the cliff. It was over, and I respected it. The other Viking class is the Berserker. No respect at all. Look at this guy. He has these two little dual-wielded like axes, like he's like a level 3 Skyrim character. He just comes at you, he's swinging, he's mashing. He has this thing where he can do an infinite chain by alternating light and heavy attacks. I didn't actually get any footage of me doing that because I didn't know that's how you did it until I was done playing this poor excuse of a person. But he sits there spinning in a whirlwind like Crash Bandicoot. If you try to touch him, you're gonna get cut, so you better come from long range with a nice good heavy attack. Also, you know that parry thing the Orochi had with the slashing of the katana, the little slide that has his sparks? Yeah, he can do that too. With his tiny little fucking pickaxe. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. He gets the parry. He's pretty annoying. I hate this guy. Yeah, I don't know what to say about him. If you play him, go to hell. Jokes aside, though, he's a cool class, and he's a more offensive addition to the kind of fast attacker, in-your-face, rush-down classes that the Orochi also occupies. So you might still think this is just rock, paper, scissors, right? Just rock, paper, scissors, some reactions. No. Let me tell you, to truly make this game's worth evident, you have to go into the 1v1 duel mode. Let me tell you about the duel mode. It's this basic 3 out of 5 round setup. Whoever gets first to 3 wins. It's 1v1, 1 life. And you do these like cage matches sectioned out in areas throughout the stage. The tone of the game completely changes in this mode. It feels like a third-person fighting game, or at least the closest we're ever going to get to it. The different play styles that people actually have really shine in this mode. It really stands out. You really get to know the other players by their actions. Some people are these stoic walls, unbreakable. All they do is look at you and wait to block the hit because they know they'll be at advantage. So you get in these stare downs, these high tension things where you're both pacing back and forth. Who's gonna break first? Is it gonna be loss of stamina? Is it gonna be a missed attack? Or maybe someone stepped too close to the pit? These players are smart. They value safety over theatrics. These players usually play Conqueror, and I can't blame them. It's a good feeling. You deflect hits like a kung fu movie. Other players are more offensive, a little more squirrely. They like to play Orochi. They dash around, they constantly throw out light attacks. They're looking for any hole in your defense, and they're constantly testing it. They'll go for guard breaks every 7 seconds. They will keep you on watch. These players are usually good at dodging. They'll dodge anything, and they're always paying attention to your mistakes. That's what they want. They want you to slip up. If you even so much as develop a 2-step pattern, they will be in there with the parry, and they're gonna stab you. They're gonna cut you. It's not gonna be pretty. Other people are a bit more boring, a bit more balanced. They play the mid-range game, and I can respect it. You have to respect a man who can commit to the mid-range game. It shows temperance, it shows patience. Not quite as patient as the guy who blocks everything, but still, he's a moderate. The Kensei and the Warden are particularly good at this. The Kensei has good range all around, and the Warden can keep you out with high stance from afar and challenge you with quick hits on left and right stance when you're close. And watch out for his tackle. He will throw you off before you even think about it. Playing through duel mode, I really got a sense for the skill floor and the skill ceiling in this game. Going in, I thought I was pretty good. I thought I was hot shit, because, you know, I have an ego. I assume these things, but no. These people on here, like, they range from completely mouth breather, dum-dum baby, all the way up to some guy who actually fought in the Crusades. He's just that good. And there are so many levels in between. I wasn't too bad, but I definitely met players that just completely wrecked me on every front. And it was humbling. But it was also interesting because I really got a look into how far this game can go. There's so much going on under the surface. There's just this level of mind games you would not expect, especially from an Ubisoft game. You'd think, oh, Ubisoft game, that's a dumb cash-in. And that's usually what I think too. And you know what, for the rest of the game, that probably still applies. But For Honor, no, it's the real deal. Diverting from the point again, back to duel mode, it's fascinating to see how two players really get a feel for each other over time. You really learn your opponent, and he really learns you in these moments. And whoever learns faster is probably going to be the one that walks out alive. People start doing fake outs. They start switching their stance radically to keep you guessing. They start walking towards the ledge trying to bait you over. Don't fall for their tricks. I like to go for ring outs though. I get ring outs all the time. In fact, ring outs are the only things that get people to rage quit on this game. I swear to God. There were so many rage quits and I just threw people out the ring. People couldn't handle it. Talk about no honor. I do have to say, most of the players I met were pretty cool though. A lot of them like to trash talk through the taunt system, and that's always funny. Some of them will sit there with you and rematch you for an hour straight. They just want to play sets. It doesn't matter about win or loss, they just want to play sets, and you gotta respect that. However, where you really get to learn about other players is in the Dominion mode, the 4v4. That's when you get to experience them as teammates. And let me tell you, they're bad. So many people had no idea what they're doing. But that's okay. You only got to play for like a day, because the alpha was 3 days. Stop doing that. Anyways, Dominion is very similar to, the 3-point capture mode, domination. You got A, B, and C, go capture them. There's a twist though. You see, A and C are the standard capture points, but B is a front line. You see, at point B, all these little AI dudes are fighting. They're pretty worthless. You can just go up to them and attack once, and your character just kills them in the most smug way they can think of. But whoever has more little AI dudes there currently is holding the front line, and that counts as holding point B. So you're just gonna see these huge clashes at point B, steel raining from the sky. All these little dudes are fighting, there's a few officers, and suddenly you walk up, and they're like, "It's Lubu!" And you start slaughtering dudes left and right, and before you know it, the reinforcements come. It's a 4v4, there's dudes everywhere. Everyone's dead, people are getting revives, and they're getting cut out of revives. It's crazy stuff. Or maybe you're not that lucky and it's a 1v4 and you get bullied and you gotta run and you look really lame. You call it the Joestar family secret technique, run away. However, if you run to point A or point C, there are no AI dudes and it's a standard capture area, so you're gonna have people sneaking off to points A and C trying to get control of the battlefield, while you also have to manage the front line battle in the middle, and that's what makes it kind of dynamic. It's cool. You're going to run into a lot of outnumbered fights in this mode though, and blocking multiple people is not easy unless you're the Conqueror. Then you get to do an evil laugh while you do it. If you take enough punishment, and this usually only happens in outnumbered fights, but I've seen it in 1v1s, if you take enough punishment, if you're blocking enough hits, dealing enough attacks, you get this thing called Revenge Mode, where you glow golden, shriek into the air, proclaim your faith to God, say Deus Vult, and you are imbued with power. Each character usually gets like a little special ability when they do this, like the Conqueror can't run out of stamina in Deus Vult mode. So this does help with the outnumbered fights. It's a bit of a comeback mechanic, but it's one that's usually invoked in clearly unfair moments. If the score difference gets too great in this mode, eventually you'll be thrown into this state where the losing team only has 1 life left. They won't respawn. And ooh, it gets tense in this mode. Suddenly you'll realize you're all moving as a pack, keeping eyes on each other's backs, watching out for hidden attacks, hiding in the shadows, covering your tracks. Defenders come at you, get their skulls cracked. As far as intense moments go, it does not lack. Moments like these really bring the teamwork out of people. Defense is in search and destroy mode, the attackers have no lives left. There is a palpable sense of consequence behind your mistakes and a certain satisfaction with all of your victories. You learn something every time you play a game, either about how you should improve or how you should approach certain types of players, and no two players are quite the same. So you read that title, you saw what I wrote. I'm claiming that this is the next step in melee combat. Not for single player games really, but for multiplayer games, this is the way things should be. I'm not saying every game should be like this. I like the way Dark Souls plays, I like the way Chivalry plays, I like the way Jedi Academy plays, but For Honor is something different. There are so many systems and tools focused purely into these player-driven melee battles. The stamp system gives you this sense of control we don't usually get in these games, a way to deliberately direct your attacks in the direction you want them to go, a way to block that involves reading and reacting to your opponent and not just holding a button. For Honor really gives you this sense of anything can happen when you're staring somebody down at close range. The amount of options and tricks available to each player creates this dynamic environment where reflex skills and strategic skills come into play equally. You have to move and attack faster than your opponent, you have to think and plan faster than him too. The possibility space in a 1v1 encounter is already a staggering amount of moving parts and player deception, but as you open up the player count and flood the battlefield with other soldiers, possibilities are simply overwhelming. If you somehow couldn't tell, I'm excited for this game, and it was practically under my radar before I got to play it myself. I didn't expect this video to run so long, we're past 20 minutes now, but I really had to drill home just how cool this game is, because because I feel like it's going to get overlooked even with massive Ubisoft marketing. The game's combat is just so unique and satisfying to a degree I've never seen before in a PvP melee game. Barring fighting games, of course, but I'm not really counting those for this comparison. It's not quite as deep or nuanced as a fighting game, but when it comes to third-person action, this is the closest the two genres have ever crossed for PvP action. If you get the chance to play this game, I urge you to take it. I know there's a beta coming. Please, play this game. Take up your sword, proclaim faith to your god, and choose your faction of choice. Except Vikings. Don't play Vikings, you degenerate.